Part 1.
The American Revolution, 1763 to 1783. In this period, anger over British control slowly grows into a war for independence. Let's take the events one at a time. Event 1. The French and Indian War ends. 1763. Britain defeated France and won a lot of land in North America. But the war left Britain deeply in debt. To pay it off, Britain decided to tax the American colonists for the first time. This new taxing is the spark for everything that follows, because it leads straight to the next event, the colonists' anger. Event 2. The Stamp Act and No Taxation Without Representation, 1765. The Stamp Act put a tax on paper goods, like newspapers and legal documents. The colonists were angry because they had no representatives in Britain's parliament, so they were being taxed without having any say. That gave us a famous phrase you should know: no taxation without representation. The colonists protested by boycotting, which means refusing to buy British goods. This anger didn't fade. It built up and exploded in the next event. Event 3. The Boston Massacre, 1770. British soldiers fired into an angry crowd in Boston and killed 5 colonists. Colonial leaders spread the story everywhere to turn people against Britain. This is an example of propaganda, which means using dramatic information to shape people's opinions. The growing anger led to a bold act of protest. Our next event. Event 4. The Boston Tea Party, 1773. To protest a tax on tea, colonists boarded British ships and dumped the tea into Boston Harbor. This was not random anger. It was an organized act of defiance. Britain was furious and struck back hard, which brings us to the next event. Event 5. The Intolerable Acts and the First Continental Congress, 1774. Britain punished Massachusetts by closing Boston's port and taking away its self-government. Britain wanted to scare the other colonies into obeying. Instead, the plan backfired. The colonies feared they could be next, so they met together at the First Continental Congress. For the first time, the colonies were acting as one group, not just 13 separate colonies. That unity mattered because the very next year, the arguing turned into shooting. Event 6. Lexington and Concord, 1775. The first shots of the Revolutionary War were fired here in Massachusetts. People called it the shot heard round the world, because a local fight became the start of a revolution. The colonies formed the Second Continental Congress and chose George Washington to lead a new Continental Army. But here's the important part. Even now, many colonists still hoped to make peace with Britain. They were fighting, but not yet ready to break away completely. It took one small book to change their minds, which is our next event. Event 7. Thomas Paine's Common Sense, 1776. Thomas Paine wrote a short pamphlet called Common Sense, written in plain, simple language so ordinary people could understand it. He argued it made no sense for a huge continent to be ruled by a tiny island across the ocean, and that the colonies should become independent. It sold hundreds of thousands of copies and turned public opinion toward independence. Paine prepared people's hearts, and just a few months later, leaders put that idea into an official document. Here's a question. What did Thomas Paine's pamphlet Common Sense do? Answer out loud now. Here's the answer. It convinced ordinary colonists to support independence from Britain in plain language anyone could understand. That groundwork made the next biggest step possible. Event 8. The Declaration of Independence. 1776. This is one of your 5 tentpole dates. Written mostly by Thomas Jefferson, the Declaration told the world the colonies were now free and independent. It said all people have natural rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that government gets its power from the people. That idea, power coming from the people, is called popular sovereignty, and it's a key Regents term. Let's pause for a question. What is the big idea of the Declaration of Independence about where government gets its power? Answer out loud now. Here's the answer. Government gets its power from the people. That idea is called popular sovereignty. Now, the colonies had to win their freedom on the battlefield, which leads to the turning point of the war. Event 9. The Battle of Saratoga. 1777. This American victory was the turning point of the war. It convinced France to join the war on America's side, with soldiers, money, and ships. France's help was a major reason the colonists won. Here's a question. Why was the Battle of Saratoga so important? Answer out loud now. Here's the answer. It was the turning point because it convinced France to join the war and help America win. That help led to the final event of this period. Event 10. The Treaty of Paris. 1783. This treaty ended the Revolutionary War. Britain recognized the United States as a free, independent country. But now the young nation faced a new challenge, building a government that actually worked. That challenge begins our next period. Quick recap of Part 1. Anger over taxes and no taxation without representation grew through the Boston Massacre and Tea Party. The colonies united. Fighting began at Lexington and Concord. Thomas Paine's common sense turned people toward independence. They declared it in 1776, won the turning point at Saratoga, and gained freedom with the Treaty of Paris.